Welcome. This video's topic is Artillery Ballista Raider. Ballista totems are a unique branch of the totem archetype that works only with ranged bow attacks and is tied to the bottom right part of the skill tree. The indirect nature of attacks yields a lot of advantages. The ballista totems are often used as a supplementary source of damage in regular bow builds. There are quite a few tools to assist you with this archetype, like watchtowers or panopticon notables, and unique items. You will fire more arrows than by using an attack yourself due to the extra arrows that the skill inherently fires, and because of the multiple totems you will be able to summon at once. We've picked the Raider class with Avatar of the Slaughter and Avatar of the Veil to increase the effectiveness of frenzy charges, much more spell suppression, phasing, a 50% chance to avoid elemental ailments, and a permanent and potent elemental exposure inflicted on nearby enemies. The type of damage dealt is tied to your bow, and due to the built-in conversion, you will definitely deal no physical damage. We recommend a bow with a lot of added elemental damage of all kinds: fire, cold, and lightning. Such a bow is expensive, but there are cheap solutions to that. In this build, you place a ballista totem to deliver damage via an attack, the damage of which is sourced from your bow. Artillery Ballista has some unique properties. It converts all your physical damage to fire, and it fires arrows by launching them into the air first, much like with the Arrow Nova support. The build has a medium amount of armor, a lot of evasion rating, and spell suppression, all on top of over 4k of maximum life. It's quite durable due to the totem playstyle. You don't have to constantly engage with enemies and keep a healthy distance from them. Clear speed is good, but ballistas take a bit of time to deploy, fire, and kill an enemy. Single target damage is excellent due to multiple ballista totems firing tons of arrows. The build is extremely cheap but has the potential to be much more powerful with expensive items. You won't need any unique items. The build is good with rares only, and these are often the best in slot items for the high-end versions. However, there's a multitude of cheap uniques you might want to use if it's your starter build, or if their unique properties are just too good to ignore. Starkanya's head is a very cheap helmet with a lot of dexterity, evasion, maximum life, attack speed, and even critical strike chance. It's good if you already have all the elemental resistances and attributes. Wilmus Requital is the helmet that would allow you to summon an extra totem and increase your attack speed, but it also alters your skill gem setup, as you won't be able to deal damage yourself. It's great when combined with Vol Haste or other sources of cast and attack speed. Windripper is a cheap alternative to a rare bow. It should be replaced later, but until you can afford a good rare, use this one. Skirmish allows you to summon an extra totem and grants Mana Leech, but there's not much else here. Hyri's Ire body armor offers tons of added damage, evasion, dexterity, and chance to suppress spell damage. It's good, but grants no life, resistances, or critical strike chance. As a raider with Avatar of the Slaughter, you can easily reach 10 frenzy charges, making Darkrai vectors extremely powerful. Breath Stealer grants resistances, attack, and cast speed, making them good with Wilmus Requital. But the iconic ability to summon spores is great as well. You can benefit from almost any aura created by these fungal allies. You can anoint them. Mercenary's Lot, a very cheap pair of gloves with attack and cast speed, evasion rating, and increased damage against marked opponents. We recommend corrupting such inexpensive gloves to have an extra maximum frenzy charge. Prismweave is cheap. It adds tons of elemental damage and increases it, but grants no life. Hyri's Truth grants level 30 precision at half of its cost, making it already great. It increases the critical strike multiplier, grants Culling Strike, and tons of dexterity. It lacks life and resistances. The taming is very fitting, that is if you're not using elemental focus, which you shouldn't. It simply increases elemental damage, the chance to apply elemental ailments, and grants elemental resistances. Lethal Pride grants a lot of strength and upgrades all nodes in its radius. Socket it near Fervor or Savagery. By using a pair of Forbidden Jewels you can borrow some keystones from the Deadeye's Ascendancy tree, such as Gathering Winds, Endless Munitions, or Focal Point. You could pick some of your own keystones at the end of a branch and allocate rapid assault instead. Veteran a bowyer is good too. On a watcher's eye look for grace, determination, and precision modifiers. Some of precision's mods for critical strikes or increased attack damage are good. The bow will be the most important and the most expensive item, your damage will depend mostly on it. Critical strike chance can be also found on jewelry, and the belt can increase your elemental damage. Body armor can get you more critical strike chance, or reduce the mana cost of skills. Boots could provide a source of onslaught, elusive, and tailwind. Corrupted gloves can extend the limit of maximum frenzy charges. Rare helmet is a simple case, look only for the most basic stats in huge quantities. Maximum life, evasion, attributes, resistances, and spell suppression are the most important. A bow with prefixes for added elemental damage of all kinds, and suffixes for attack speed and critical strike modifiers would be excellent. The higher the numbers the better. Quivers do offer decent defensive modifiers like maximum life and resistances, but added elemental damage or critical strike modifiers could also be valuable. Maximum life, extra critical strike chance, and elemental resistances are the best modifiers to have on a body armor. We recommend a pair of boots with elemental resistances, movement speed, maximum life, and some additional offensive mods listed here. Gloves have quite a few decent modifiers for attack builds. Look for attack speed, added damage, critical strike, or accuracy modifiers. Life and resistances should also be included. Stygian Vice with just life, increased elemental damage with attacks, and resistances will be good. Try to also gain some extra strength. Life, resistances, and critical strike modifiers are very common on an amulet. Attributes, added damage, accuracy, and reduced mana cost of skills are available too. Rare rings are an excellent source of resistances and attributes, but you could also get some accuracy, maximum life, added damage, critical strike, hex curse on hit, and reduced mana cost of skills. You can fix your elemental resistances and attributes or get some powerful offensive modifiers if needed, but try to prioritize maximum life on your jewels. There are no overwhelmingly good unique flasks, we recommend a full set of magic ones. Life flask with freeze or bleed immunity, diamond, quicksilver, jade, and granite or sulfur flask. These should possess suffixes for an increased attack speed, critical strike chance, evasion rating, and armor rating or movement speed. The skill setups go as follows. Artillery Ballista fires multiple arrows that later land in a line dealing area damage. It converts all physical damage to fire. Increasing the gem level to 22 allows you to summon an extra totem. Consider the divergent version for more projectiles. Link it with elemental damage with attacks, increased critical strikes, and added cold damage. Inspiration support lowers the mana cost, increases elemental damage, and critical strike chance. If your critical strike chance is already high, and your mana cost is already low, use Trinity support, given you can generate resonance stacks. With increased critical damage support your critical strike multiplier is increased. It's good only if you have a fairly high critical strike chance. If that's not the case, use Elemental Penetration, the awakened version of support gems with added elemental damage, or Elemental Focus, to increase the gem level of Artillery Ballista to 22. In your second 6-link setup, we've used 2 skills you will fire yourself. Frenzy is an attack that grants you a frenzy charge if it hits. Enemies hit with Ensnare Arrow or Ensnared. This effect stacks up to 3 times. It increases projectile damage taken and reduces movement speed. Be sure that your projectiles cannot pierce. Link these with Power Charge on critical, inspiration, and greater multiple projectiles. Life gain on hit support grants life on hit, one of the few ways to replenish the life pool. If that's not necessary, use Mirage Archer support instead. Defiance Banner increases armor, evasion, and reduces critical strike chance for nearby enemies. Grace adds and increases evasion rating for a higher chance to avoid attack hits. Determination adds and increases armor rating to mitigate more physical hit damage. Link these with Enlightened support for increased mana reservation efficiency. Molten Shell grants a temporary buff that reduces incoming hit damage. It absorbs more damage the more armor you have. Enemies marked with Sniper's Mark receive increased projectile damage that split on impact. Link these with Life Tap, so that skills cost life instead of mana, and Mark on hit support. Rare and unique enemies are marked on hit with Sniper's Mark. Use Dash. It makes you more mobile and dodging is easier. Tornado is an orb spell that you can hit. It deals reflected damage to enemies based on received damage. With Onslaught support, Tornado grants Onslaught. If you already have a source of this buff, use Combustion support to reduce fire resistance. Precision increases critical strike chance and grants more accuracy. Kill all 3 bandits and be rewarded with 2 additional skill points. There are no other good choices. Unless you're using Wilmus Requital, in this case, you can pick Kraton. Soul of Lunaris would be good to withstand the barrage of projectiles and increase mobility in crowded areas. All other choices are of course viable. Brine King for freeze immunity and avoiding multiple stuns, or Aracali to mitigate DOTs. If you don't have a flask that stops bleeding, use Soul of Ralakash. Soul of Abarath reduces ignite duration, and Shikari shortens poison duration. If your character is very fragile, pick Garukin to reduce the shock effect. The skill tree presented is budget-friendly, it has no cluster jewels, it doesn't need any. The most important will be allocating all the notables for extra maximum frenzy charges, bow, projectile, critical strike nodes, some maximum life, evasion, reservation efficiency, and 2 notables for an extra totem, panopticon and watchtowers. For notables, allocate 2 life ones for more maximum life, grace reservation efficiency as evasion mastery, extra evasion as armor for armor and evasion mastery, 30% chance to summon an extra totem as totem mastery, critical strike chance from spell suppression as suppression mastery, critical strike multiplier against unique enemies as critical mastery, and literally any mastery from resistance and ailment protection. You also might want to allocate any second spell suppression mastery. That is all for this guide, we hope it was informative. To stay updated, subscribe to the channel. Stay safe, see you soon.